Shoto.
Even though Endeavour is the #1 pro hero, even he himself as a father has a really tough time getting messages back from his son, Shoto Todoroki. The struggle is real. How is it going, guys? Sean Ross here, and welcome back to the channel, guys. I hope you all enjoyed that opening clip because, man, oh man, I had so much fun editing and putting that clip together, and I think it goes quite well with the beginning pages that we had for this chapter. Endeavour trying his best to get a reply back from Shoto is possibly one of the funniest things that we got this chapter. And speaking of the latest chapter, we're here to talk about and to discuss My Hero Academia chapter 203, which was entitled Flexible Juzo Honanuki. And with that title, it really goes to show us what the main focus of this chapter was going to be around. Despite the fact that we had those first couple pages with Endeavour trying to text and get a reply back from Shoto, the real main focus of this chapter was to Class B's Sans boy, Mr. Eren Jaegerface Juzo Honanuki, and we got to see him on full display, getting to see how smart he is, getting to see how flexible he was in these type of situations, and now we really come to understand why he was one of the other characters that was brought into UA via recommendation, because with him leading Class B within this match, he kind of has Class A on the ropes for the time being because he knew exactly what Class A was going to do, and he had the plans utilizing his quirk as well as his other teammates to gain the advantage and to push Class A back to where we got to see Pony's quirk in action, got to see Kaibara's quirk in action, and actually getting to see them team up and using combos, which was really cool to see. So there's going to be some interesting stuff to talk about with the quirks that were revealed in this chapter, getting to see Juzo get his time to shine, and just seeing how nonchalant and laid back of a character he was. And then we'll dive into the cliffhanger of this chapter, which is diving into everything that we can speculate about to what Iida is about to do with his new ultimate move, an extension of Recipro Burst, Recipro Turbo. So going back to the beginning of this chapter, we kick things off at the Endeavour Hero Agency, where we come to find out there are a lot of team-up applications and interview requests just flooding into the agency after the event of Endeavour and Hawks taking on and defeating the high-end Nomu. And these are some positive steps that we are starting to see with Endeavour in the #1 hero spot, because this is showing us that other pro hero agencies are really warming up to Endeavour in that role, and they are willing to work alongside him and team up with him. But then we also have up-and-coming pro heroes wanting to interview and work under him at his agency, and that is really cool to see take place after the pro hero arc, but also coming to see how far Endeavour has come to where the public and other pro hero agencies are really embracing him in that #1 hero spot. And I really love getting to see that. And that's all thanks to the development that we have been getting on Endeavour's character because of Horikoshi. But Endeavour really isn't too concerned with all those applications and requests. He's leaving that to his sidekicks right now because he is more focused in on his phone that he is holding because he's trying to communicate with his son Shoto, but things are not really going the way he would hope for because every single message he has sent to Shoto has been read, but has gotten 0 replies. But it does make me ask the question as to why Endeavour asked for Yumi for Shoto's contact info, because if you go back to the remedial arc with Todoroki, Bakugo, Inasa, and Kami with the little kids, there's a moment there to where Endeavour is texting Todoroki that he was going to show up that day and watch him during his remedial courses, so we know he has Shoto's contact info, but maybe he asked for Yumi for Facebook information. Maybe this is Facebook Messenger to where he's sending these messages through. I have no idea, but we do know for sure that Endeavour at least has the phone number of his son, or at least I would hope so. Otherwise, that would just make him a terrible father. Just pile that on top of all the crap that comes with the baggage of Endeavour with his family. So besides all of the ghosting, we eventually come to find out the real reason as to why Endeavour is trying so hard to make contact with his son, and it basically boils down to he wants to finish the training he did with Todoroki in teaching him this new technique that we learned about in the flashback of last chapter. And I am very curious to see what this new technique is all about, because Horikoshi is hyping it up with the fact that it was first brought up last chapter and is now being reinforced once again by Endeavour this chapter. Is it a move that can combine fire and ice? Is it just an overall more powerful fire move that only Shoto Todoroki can use based on his fire and ice quirk? And also it has ties to Toya, and Toya came very close to mastering that technique. So I'm curious to see where we're going to go with this technique. Are we going to see it during the third match? Or will it be something later on down the road to where Shoto will in fact train under Endeavour? And if that is the case, that'll be very cool to see take place, because just based on the internal monologue we have with Endeavour, he is sounding very fatherly with the thoughts that he is thinking, because I kind of view it as the simple fact he is a father that wants to pass down the skills, the experience, and the techniques that he has learned throughout his life down to his son. And he does not want to beat it into him, much like he did in the past, as we see with the flashback panel at the top of the page, where we just see Endeavour standing there engulfed in flames with the bamboo stick, and we just see Shoto Todoroki with steam coming off of him and vomiting onto the floor. That's not going to happen with Endeavour as the man he is growing into being, but he has realized his mistakes and he now knows what he needs to do in order to train his son properly. But the only question is, will Todoroki allow him to train him in the future? That will be very interesting to see after all these matches have concluded. But we eventually come to the ending of the Endeavour section, but of course you can't end off the Endeavour section without having one of his tantrums, because he is still angry with the fact that Shoto is ignoring his messages. So in classic Endeavour fashion, he just shouts to the heavens, bursting into flames, "Shoto!" And you just see his sidekicks to the side, and they're like, oh god, the Shoto anxiety is getting to him once again. It's a nice moment to transition into, but I like how Horikoshi uses this transition, because as Endeavour is shouting Shoto's name, we see Shoto beginning to sneeze. And as it is kind of known within Japanese culture, or at least they believe the fact that if you sneeze, it means someplace, somewhere, someone is talking about you, and that's kind of what is happening in this panel and on this page, and I really like getting to see that. So we leave the Endeavour section and we transition into the official start of the third match, because last chapter's title was entitled Match Number 3, but the third match officially kicks off this chapter. And it starts off with an icy bang. We see Class A moving towards the location of Class B, towards the sound of all the noise and racket that Tetsu Tetsu is currently making, leveling the playing field, getting rid of all the pipes within the environment, while Pony and Kaibara are yelling at him very angrily. But this is the moment where we get to see the brains of Class B's team, the de facto leader, Juzo Hononuki, getting to see how flexible he is within this situation and how he's able to analyze the next course of action, the first move that Class A is going to make. And even though it's not really that much of a stretch to predict the first move that Todoroki is going to make, this just gives us a brief glimpse on what we're going to see from Juzo throughout this chapter. And this is the moment when Class A shows up and they make their move, and we lead into this double page spread of just an icy blizzard enveloping the environment, Shoto Todoroki unleashing his trump card, the gigantic ice wall. And it's nice to have the side commentary coming from Ochako, to where she notices the improvements that Todoroki put into this technique, to where it's not this gigantic iceberg just crashing through the environment, much like how he used to use it at the sports festival, the final exams, and also the training camp. This one is more dispersed, it is more spread out, it covers a wider area, but it also doesn't block his field of vision, to where he has a clear shot of every single member of Class B. And then we also come to find out that Iida, Ojiro, and Shoji have stayed in the rear, and they were waiting for this attack to be done. That way they don't get caught in the ice, and then they can move in and capture all the members of Class B once Todoroki is finished doing his work. And once they get the go-ahead, we see Iida activate his Recipro Burst. They begin to move in, but Class A forgot one little thing. They forgot to factor in the full extent of Juzo's quirk of softening, and this is when Class B kind of makes their counterattack. We begin to see the ice become very soft, very liquid-like, and this is where we come to see how flexible and how analytical Juzo was from the start of this match, predicting what they were going to do, and he had countermeasures already set in place. It's from this exact moment to the ending of the chapter, Class B has the advantage for match number 3, and it's all thanks to Juzo's flexibleness, his quick thinking, and being able to analyze the entire situation. He knew Todoroki was going to launch this ice attack, and he knew he could soften the entire environment covered in the ice, but even before the attack was launched, he actually softened the environment around them because he knew once the attack was launched, Iida and Ojiro would begin to move in, and this would give them a fighting chance by taking away their mobility from the softened environment. So the title of this chapter being Flexible, Juzo Hononuki, it's a proper title because we get to see him on full display this entire chapter. He is center stage. We come to learn his hero name of Mudman, which is kind of generic, but it's better than Soft Man or Soft Boy. And then we get the actual description of how his softening quirk actually works, to where any non-living thing that he touches, it turns soft, and if he touches it a second time, it cancels the effect. And then we also get the information that a majority of us already kind of knew, which was the fact that Juzo was one of the 4 students brought into UA via recommendation. So Juzo, Momo, and Todoroki are 3 of the 4 students that came into UA via recommendation, and there's only one other Class B student that we need to find that out about. So in matches 4 or 5, one of those Class B students is another one of the students that came in via recommendation. So these recommendation students are top tier students, as we can kind of tell. They're very analytical, they can analyze the situations. They're not perfect, but they tend to be the cream of the crop when it comes to the UA students. So I am very curious to see who that 4th student is going to be. But just because Juzo was one of the main focuses of this chapter, the other 2 members of Class B, besides Tetsu, also get their time to shine as well, because we finally get to learn what their quirks are and what their quirks do. And the first one up is Senkaibara, who has the quirk of Gyrate, to where he can spin any part of his body like a drill. Key phrase being any part of his body. So he's able to spin his fingers, his hands, his arms, his legs, but who's to say he isn't also able to spin his drill like a drill? So I think it's safe to say Senkaibara is very popular with the ladies of Class B, if you know what I mean. Spinning that drill like a drill. Joking aside about his quirk, the description of his quirk, and the fact that it's called Gyrate, it's a very hand-to-hand based combat type quirk. You can't really do a lot of long-range attacks with it, but I'm also very curious how his quirk would match up going up against Kirishima and Tetsu's quirk of Hardening and Steel, respectively. But we see Senkaibara go after Ojiro after he was immobilized by the softened environment, so he's keeping Ojiro preoccupied, and from there we move on to see the second Class B quirk get revealed, which is Pony's quirk of Horn Cannon. Now, I kind of had the thought in my head that with a quirk called Horn Cannon, she might be able to shoot lasers from her horns. That's not the case, but I think it's still a very unique quirk to where she's able to shoot out multiple horns at once, and she can control them like heat-seeking missiles to attack her opponent. Plus, she also looks very cute and adorable as she has her hands next to her head, where she looks like she's trying to remotely control them with her fingers. She looks absolutely adorable. But I love how she just goes right for the eyes and ears of Class A, the person that does the reconnaissance Shoji, by sending them to pin Shoji up against the wall, but then also helps out Tetsu with a combo move by basically crashing him through the ice to go for Todoroki. I did not see this in my first read through and live reaction to this chapter, but Pony has 2 horns attached to Tetsu, much like engines that you would kind of see with Iida in his quirk, and it's propelling him through the ice, and now it makes a lot more sense why Tetsu is screaming out Horn-Hammer. That is a really nice combo move, and that is something I am really starting to notice about Class B throughout these matches. They tend to do a lot more combo moves, that at least that I have been seeing, than what Class A has been demonstrating thus far from these matches. So we have Pony pinning Shoji up against the wall, we have Kaibara keeping Ojiro occupied, Tetsu is currently brawling it out with Todoroki. There's a lot of one-on-one matches currently going on with match number 3, which just leaves Juzo dealing with Iida, and it's once we go over to their location, we come to find out that Iida isn't really faring that much better against Juzo, to where he has fallen into the ground thanks to Juzo's softening quirk, to where he is now stuck, to where all that's left above ground is his head and neck. Everything else is in the solid ground, and he basically looks like an angry Iida plant shouting out, "You villains, you jerks, you fiends," getting very into character. As Vlad was explaining, you get to view your opponent as the villains. And I just love seeing Iida go 110%, but this kind of makes it seem like Juzo is viewing Iida as one of the big threats that he needed to take out, because he knew that there was a time limit on Iida's reciprocal burst, and so he wanted to take that out of the equation, take him out, so that way he can go and regroup with his team and deal with Todoroki, with Ojiro, and with Shoji. But now, for the cliffhanger of this chapter, we are seeing a new technique, or at least a new enhanced version of Iida's reciprocal burst, to where he is propelling himself out of the solid ground with a new style called Recipro Turbo. Now, I am very curious to see what this new Recipro style means for Iida, how it is an improvement upon Recipro Burst, because based on the dialogue that Iida is stating by the ending of this chapter, he's saying that Ingenium is always running, whenever, wherever, which kind of had me thinking about how his Recipro powers and his engines usually work. With Recipro Burst, he's usually going from 0 to 100, but I think it would be really cool if he has his engines idle all the time, to where maybe he has it kind of running all the time, where maybe he's running it at 10% or 15%. His engines are always on and always prepared, so that way when he does use them, maybe it kind of cancels out his stall factor, to where he can't use his quirk after his engine stall. I'm just very curious to see how this is an improvement, and whether or not this is actually giving Iida an advantage, or this is going to give him a huge disadvantage after using the new move, Recipro Turbo. So I am very curious to see what's going to go on with Iida in Chapter 204, how this is going to develop his character, because Iida needs some development. It's been a long time since his character has gotten some proper development. So it has me excited and looking forward to seeing what Iida is going to show us in Chapter 204. I loved what we got to see from Class B this chapter, with Juzo and his flexible, nonchalant, lax nature. He is a really cool character, and it kind of sucks that he's wearing that mask, because I like the design of his skull face. But it's still a cool look for Juzo's character, and I love the reveal of having Kaibar and Pony's quirk. Pony's quirk is very cool, and she's just cute and adorable of Class B, and I'm glad we finally got to see it. But now I'm just very curious to see how the next chapter is going to go down, and which team is going to come out on top. Because if Iida is able to take out Juzo, I would kind of view that as the turning point of this match, because if Juzo is taken out, Class A is going to win. But if Iida is taken out by Juzo, then I kind of think Class B is going to have the upper hand and most likely come out on top in this match. So with that, guys, that right there is my review for Chapter 203 of My Hero Academia. But now I definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts on this latest chapter and what you guys think is going to go down in the next chapter. Leave your thoughts down in the comments below, and if you guys want to talk more about My Hero, feel free to subscribe to the channel, guys. I would love to talk with you all down in the comments with every new chapter that comes out. And also, if you want to talk more outside of YouTube, feel free to follow me on Twitter. Plus, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll get a little sneak peek of some of those intros that I like to do sometimes for the reviews. It's a nice little treat I like to share with all you guys. So if you guys want to follow me over on Twitter as well, a link can be found in the description down below. But that's going to do it for me here, guys. So until next chapter, Chapter 204 of My Hero Academia, I'll talk to you guys next time. But remember, go beyond, plus ultra.